Hello, I'm Alex and I make music. And I thought, after watching a lot of people on YouTube kind of documenting their record collections and talking about the music that they like, I found it really, really comforting. And it's nice to just have on in the background, really, while you do other things. So I thought I'd have a crack at it. So I've got some albums from my collection that I'd like to talk to you about today. This one, we've got Labi Siffre, Crying, Laughing, Loving, Lying. Lots of words there. Afolabi, you got me. Anyway, this is an absolutely fantastic record on Pi Record, 1972. Mine is an original copy, and they're getting quite hard to find now. It was never a huge seller. None of his albums ever really were, except for the one with So Strong on it. But this was definitely his most well-known record of his early sort of folk albums. And you can see you've got the original. Try not to touch the record at all there. And there's barely any spindle wear. I couldn't believe when I found this one on eBay. Got it for far less than I should have. I mean, you can't put a price on music. This is truly beautiful music. Starts off with that bold a cappella track, Saved, going into Canic Chase, which has now become one of his more popular songs. But I think for a very long time, this record was mostly known really for one song, It Must Be Love, due to the Madness cover. And it's even got the insert inside, which actually I'd completely forgotten it had. So you can take in Labi's brilliant lyrics. It's an album that has aged remarkably well. Its reputation just seems to increase every year. I find that lots of young people are discovering it, which is brilliant. And I try and bring a little bit of it into my classroom teaching as well, as much as I can. This next one, it's a really obscure record, this. It's John Bromley, Sing. And there he is on the back, looking a bit like a sort of young Jim Dale. It's a lovely record, this. It's got the Fleur de Lis, who were like a psych rock, psych pop, sort of Guns for Hire, a la Pretty Things, circa sort of 1968, that kind of time period. And this is a great record on Polydor. Got this one in an auction. And it's a beautiful, beautiful record, this one. It's a bit patchy. Some parts are very Bacharach, not so psych pop at all, actually. And then other parts are just pure Toy Town. So it's definitely worth checking out. If you're a fan of the UK Nirvana, if you're a fan of... Ooh, it's well-written music, really. And let's see if I can get it back in the thing, because whenever I see people unsheathe their records, they always struggle putting them back into the sort of plastic outers. Okay, this next one is quite a fragile one. It is Bridget St. John, and it's her, well, it's sort of her debut album. It was released in two different versions. So you've got this, which is a UK version, which is her own self-designed cover. And then you've got the US one, which has a far more striking cover, which is her face and sort of side profile. And it was released on John Peel's label, Dandelion. But the most remarkable thing about it has nothing to do with John Peel, in my opinion. The most remarkable thing about it is the songwriting, and how assured her voice was just from that very first record. Straight in To Be Without a Hitch, Ask Me No Questions, the title track, is absolutely beautiful, almost bordering into some ambient territory. Now with this copy, it actually had a printing error, which I always love when you find those, and they double printed the A side, so some careful peeling. You'll probably get people in the comments saying, if I do get anyone in the comments saying, shouldn't have peeled that off, Alex, because you lose the authenticity. But yeah, Ask Me No Questions, a beautiful album. She toured in the early days with Nick Drake. Massive inspiration, I think, to Nick, and a supportive figure. But she shouldn't be referenced just for the men that were around her. She was creating fantastic music in her own right. And I think actually she only got stronger with her second album, which I've also got songs for, The Gentleman, which is a brilliant record with Ron Geeson of Pink Floyd fame on the orchestrations. Brilliant stuff. Okay, this next one we've got Kevin Ayers, and The Whole World, including Lowell Coxhill on just about everything. And then you've got a young Mike Oldfield on bass, which is just fantastic. I mean, you can always tell when a guitarist, especially a virtuosic guitarist, is been confined to bass because they always overplay. You get like, you know, your Keith Richards. You can tell when there's a Stones track with Keith Richards on bass, vice versa. And I'm all for it. As a guitarist myself and as someone who loves playing the bass in a hobbyist kind of way, it's a bit of me. I think if I was maybe a bassist first, I might go, ooh, that's a little bit. But I love it. I think things like May I, what is it, Clarence in Wonderland, all that stuff. It's a fantastic album. And it has that collaboration with Bridget St. John, The Oyster and the Flying Fish. A bit of, unfortunately, the customary 1970, ooh, we've run out of ideas, but we have an album to release sort of problem. Best typified in the 8 minutes of electronic bleeps and bloops and stuff. Hopefully the video didn't just pause there. I've got to remember to charge my phone. And last but certainly not least, we've got the Incredible String Band with their 1970 theatre play concept album, Rush Job, You. You is a fantastic record. It's a challenging record. It's not an album that reveals its treasure willingly. You've really got to stick with it. You've got to almost kind of submit to it in a way. It's an unyielding piece of music. It's over 100 minutes long. You can just see Now, this was not a band known for focus. They're not a focused band. They push and pull in numerous different directions, and that's part of what makes them so interesting. And one of my favourite things in just sort of music and my life so far, actually, is introducing my friend Maya to the Incredible String Band's music, because he's now gone on to make his own music, which is just as good, dare I say, as this. And I've actually got a copy of his new album here, his debut record on vinyl, Tinderbox. So if you are, oh, it's got a little inscription there as well. So if you are a fan of any of the records that I have mentioned, give this a check out on Broadside Hacks. Lovely label, there he is.